Hello, this is going to be your notes for one-step equation. So you're supposed to be writing these down in your notebook after your video is over. One-step equation should be a review from last year. You should have worked through kind of all of these types of problems, but it's always good to kind of, before we start working with equations over the next couple classes, we'll be doing these kind of notes. So we'll be getting into some harder equations, so it's good to kind of review basic one-steppers. So the first thing, make sure you write down everything that's on these slides. For one-step equations, you're always going to zero out any numbers that are not attached to the variable. So we're trying to, we should write that down too. Remember, our goal is to find what number the variable is. So you're looking, some of these on a couple of these problems, you can literally just look at and say, like, -3 plus what number is 10? And you can just kind of guess and check. A lot of one-step you can guess and check, just kind of using mental math and determining it. But it's good to practice also how to solve, because when we get to ones where guess and check could take you an hour, it's probably a little bit easier and quicker, more useful of your time to actually solve them out. So the first thing we're going to do is we're always going to look at the side with the variable. So in this case, we're looking at this side here, and we want to isolate the y. We want to get y alone on that side of the equal sign. Currently, a -3 is on the same side. So if the number is not attached, like in this case, the 3 is separated from the y with a plus sign, you're going to zero out anything that's not attached. So just think, how can I turn -3 into a 0? And the easiest way, of course, is just to add 3. And equations, remember, what you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other side. So if some of you like to draw your little line, and that's going to be 10 plus 3, which is 13, and then now we just have y left. This whole number here turns into a big 0, so 0 plus y is just y. So that would be for the first one. You can also check your answer. Let me change to like a nice blue. We can plug in our answers, so we can go, instead of -3 plus y equals 10, -3 plus 13 equals 10, -3 plus 13 is 10, so it checks. You can always substitute your answer in to verify it. Okay, so for the next one, again, we're looking at the side with the variable, so we're looking over here. We got to get rid of this 4. You can definitely do inverse operations here, so multiplying, divide, divide, multiply, add, subtract, subtract, add. But you can also think of it in kind of terms of, if it's connected to the variable, we want to make the number turn into a 1. So right now we have 4x. If we want to make it turn into a 1x, we just divide by 4 on both sides. So 4 divided by 4 would be 1. X equals, and then -16 divided by 4 is -4. And we can write this 1x, just x, is equal to -4. And you probably could look at that. A lot of you could just stare at that and go, oh yeah, that's got to be -4. 4 times -4 is -16. But again, if you want to practice plugging in to your equation, so it'd be 4 times x, or -4, and that checks. That's true. Okay, so these two are the ones that are a little bit more complicated, but don't be nervous. You can definitely do it. It's just a fraction. Really, both of these are fractions. The way that this one reads is -8 equals x divided by -5. So again, now this time the variable is on the right side, so we're trying to move the -5 out of there. The way that you can think of this, you can definitely think inverse. So we're dividing, so we're going to multiply. That's kind of the first thought that some people like. Another thought that a way you can think about it is that this is x divided by 1, or -5. It's the same as 1/5. So right now it's not really a 5. It's actually a 1/5, or a -1/5. So we can multiply both sides by -5. And if we do that, mathematically speaking, right, using like math sense, -1/5 times -5, or -5/1, gives you -5/5, which is just 1. So when you multiply here, it's not going to be 25, because this number's in the denominator. It's just going to all turn into a 1. So 1x equals 40, or you could just write x equals 40, and I know a lot of you probably want to switch it around. And again, you can check it, right? So we can plug our answer back in. -8 equals, instead of x divided by -5, we would do 40 divided by -5, and yes, indeed, that does equal -8. Okay, for the last one here, I'll kind of erase some of this stuff. This problem, it also has a fraction, but it is attached. So kind of going back to that beginning, when the number is attached, meaning it's connected together with the variable, we want to make it turn to a 1. So in order to take this into a 1, we have to multiply by the reciprocal. And I'll show you why here on the next step. So when I multiply 3 times 2, times 2 times 3. So remember, you're multiplying across on the fractions. So 3 times 2 is 6. And then when I multiply 2 times 3, that's also 6. And this here simplifies to just a 1. So that's why it's gone. We can do 1x, or we could just say x. Then when we multiply here, we're going to multiply across. So -8 times 3, which is -24, over 2 times 1, which is 2. And then when I simplify, I get -12. Now you can check these actually in our bestie Desmos. Let's see if I can grab them over here and drag them. You can check your answer, especially on these fraction ones, just to verify, just in case, because like sometimes fraction work can be a little messy. So if I type in 2/3 times x equals -8, so I can type in 2/3 times x, which we found to be -12, and there it is. So my answer is -8. That works too. So you can actually check these. You can write check in Desmos, and you can check all the answers. Like for this one, we could do the same thing. We could type in, let's see, 40 divided, I mean, that one's kind of easy, but 40 divided by -5. Oops, -5, and it says -8. So you can check any equation in the calculator just to make sure that you're doing it right. Okay. That is all for this part. I'm going to write some problems on, and what I want you to do is go ahead and solve them, and then bring me your paper when you're done, your notebook, and I'll check them off, and then you can get started on your homework. So you're answering these questions here. I'll just stick with X, and then okay, so go ahead and work those 2 problems out, and you can always, of course, fast forward, go back, etc., and then bring me these answers, and I will check you off, and you are good to start your homework. Thanks for watching.